Johnny Carson was losing control. Live television. 11 million people watching. The Tonight Show, May 21, 1982. Johnny was supposed to be interviewing his guest. Asking questions. Moving the show along. But he couldn't. He was laughing so hard he couldn't breathe. Tears streaming down his face. Pounding the desk with his fist. Doubled over in his chair. Ed McMahon was laughing. Doc Severinsen was laughing. The entire studio audience was in hysterics. For 11 minutes straight, The Tonight Show became complete chaos. The cameras kept rolling. The producers were panicking. Johnny tried to speak, nothing came out but laughter. This had never happened before. Not in 20 years of hosting. Not in 4,000 episodes. Johnny Carson, the most professional man in television, had completely lost it on live TV. What happened that night? Who was the guest that made the king of late-night laugh so hard he couldn't do his job? And why did Johnny later call it the greatest 11 minutes of my career? If you're already smiling, hit that like button and tell me in the comments where you're watching from tonight. His name was Robin Williams. May 21, 1982. Robin was 30 years old. He'd been famous for about 3 years thanks to the sitcom Mork and Mindy. But Robin Williams, the stand-up comedian? That was a different animal entirely. Robin had been on The Tonight Show once before, about a year earlier. That appearance had gone well. Johnny liked him. The audience liked him. So when Robin's publicist called to book him again, Fred de Cordova, Johnny's producer, said yes immediately. 8-minute segment, Fred told his staff. Standard interview. Robin will tell some stories about Mork and Mindy, maybe do a quick impression, and we're out. Simple. Clean. Professional. Nobody knew what was about to happen. The show started normally. Johnny did his monologue. Solid laughs. Good energy. The first guest was a musician. Quick performance. Smooth transition. Then Ed McMahon's voice boomed, "Ladies and gentlemen, Robin Williams." Robin walked onto that stage like a hurricane disguised as a human being. Wild eyes. Manic energy. Moving fast, too fast for a normal talk show. Johnny stood up, shook Robin's hand, gestured to the chair. Robin sat down. Sort of. He was bouncing. Twitching. His brain was already 3 jokes ahead of his mouth. "Robin, good to see you again," Johnny said, settling back into his host chair. "Johnny. Great to be back. You know, I was backstage and I saw your dressing room. Very nice. I also saw Ed's. It's a broom closet." The audience laughed. Ed McMahon grinned and raised his coffee mug. "Hey, it's cozy." "Cozy?" Robin's eyes went wide. "Ed, there's a mop in there that has more square footage than you do." Johnny chuckled. And that's when it started. Robin launched into a story about flying to Los Angeles. But he didn't just tell the story. He became every person in the story. The nervous passenger. The flight attendant with the fake smile. The pilot with the thick southern accent. The guy in the seat next to him eating tuna fish. Robin was doing voices, accents, full-body transformations, all while sitting in that chair. Johnny was trying to keep up. "So you're saying the flight was? Turbulence, Johnny. We hit turbulence and this guy next to me." Robin jumped up, acting out the guy grabbing the armrests, face going pale, tuna fish flying. The audience roared. Johnny started laughing harder. Robin wasn't done. He spun around, grabbed Johnny's desk, and became the flight attendant. "Sir, please return to your seat." Then he became the passenger again. "I am in my seat. My soul left 20 minutes ago but I'm still here." Johnny was laughing so hard he had to look away from Robin. Because if he kept looking, he wouldn't be able to stop. Ed McMahon was shaking with laughter in his chair. Doc Severinsen had put down his trumpet because he couldn't play through the tears. Robin kept going. He moved on to a story about meeting a fan at the airport. But again, he didn't just describe it. He became the fan. High-pitched voice, starstruck expression, hands flapping everywhere. "Oh my God, you're Mork. Can you do the Mork voice? Please do the voice." Then Robin became himself, exhausted and polite. "Yeah, sure, Nanu Nanu." Then back to the fan. "Not like that. Do it better." The audience was screaming with laughter. Johnny tried to jump in. "Robin, let me ask you." But Robin was already rolling. He was doing an impression of a dog he saw at the airport. Then an impression of the security guard. Then an impression of the security guard's dog. Johnny gave up trying to interview him. He just sat back and watched the tornado. And then Robin did something that destroyed Johnny completely. Robin noticed Johnny's coffee mug on the desk. He picked it up, stared at it, and became a dramatic Shakespearean actor delivering a monologue to the coffee mug. Alas, poor coffee. I knew it well. A beverage of infinite warmth. The audience was losing it. Johnny was trying to breathe. Robin wasn't stopping. He put the mug down, spun around, and did a perfect impression of Johnny Carson. The posture. The voice. The mannerisms. Welcome back to The Tonight Show. My guest tonight is completely insane. Johnny slammed his hand on the desk, tears streaming down his face. He tried to speak. Nothing came out but laughter. He tried again. Still nothing. Ed McMahon leaned over. Johnny, you okay? Johnny waved him off, still laughing, wiping his eyes. The studio audience was on their feet. Robin saw Johnny struggling and somehow, impossibly, kicked it into an even higher gear. He started doing impressions of every U.S. president. Fast. Reagan. Carter. Nixon. Ford. Each one for 5 seconds. Each one perfect. Each one funnier than the last. Johnny was bent over his desk now. His shoulders were shaking. He was gasping for air. He pounded the desk with his fist, thud thud thud, trying to regain control. But every time he looked at Robin, another wave of laughter hit him. In the control room, Fred de Cordova was watching the monitors in stunned silence. How long has this been going on? He asked the director. 7 minutes. We need to go to commercial. Johnny can't talk. Then have Ed do it. Ed's crying. Fred looked at the monitors. Johnny Carson, the most controlled, most professional host in the history of television, was completely helpless. And the ratings were spiking. People across America were calling their friends, turn on Carson right now. Back on stage, Robin was now doing an impression of a French chef cooking dinner while riding a motorcycle. Nobody knew why. It didn't matter. It was hilarious. Johnny tried one more time to speak. He opened his mouth. Robin. Laughter. He couldn't finish the sentence. The audience was chanting now, Robin. 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 Robin took a bow. Then he sat back down in the chair like nothing had happened. Calm. Composed. Smiling sweetly. So, Johnny, what were you saying? That did it? Johnny absolutely lost it. He buried his face in his hands. His whole body was shaking. Ed McMahon gave up and just started applauding. The audience gave Robin a standing ovation. Finally, after 11 full minutes, Johnny took a deep breath, wiped his eyes, looked at Robin, and said the only thing he could say. You are out of your mind. Robin grinned. Thank you. The audience erupted again. Johnny shook his head, still trying to catch his breath. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back after this. The show cut to commercial. Backstage, Fred de Cordova was waiting. Johnny, you okay? Johnny was still wiping tears from his eyes. That, Johnny said, was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Fred looked at him. You couldn't talk for 11 minutes. I know. We went 4 minutes over schedule. I know. The network is going to lose their minds. Johnny smiled. I don't care. That was magic. And he was right. The next day, the press exploded. Johnny Carson loses control on live TV. Robin Williams breaks The Tonight Show, the 11-minute laugh that stopped television. The ratings for that episode were the highest in months. NBC received thousands of letters from viewers begging them to have Robin back. Johnny called Robin personally 2 days later. You're welcome back anytime. But next time, I'm wearing a seatbelt. Robin laughed. Deal. Over the next 10 years, Robin Williams appeared on The Tonight Show 34 more times. And every single time, Johnny knew what he was in for. Chaos. Laughter. Pure comedic insanity. But that first night, May 21, 1982, became legendary. It was the night Johnny Carson, the king of control, surrendered completely. And loved every second of it. In 1992, when Johnny hosted his final episode of The Tonight Show, he invited Robin Williams as one of his last guests. Robin walked out. The audience gave him a standing ovation before he even sat down. Johnny smiled. You remember the first time you were here? The 11 minutes? Robin grinned. How could I forget? I couldn't breathe, Johnny said. I thought I was going to pass out. I was just getting started, Robin said. Johnny laughed, the same laugh from 10 years earlier. Robin, in 30 years of doing this show, that was one of the greatest moments of my career. Because you reminded me what comedy is supposed to be. Not scripted. Not safe. Just pure, fearless, unfiltered joy. Robin's eyes filled with tears. Johnny, you gave me a stage when I was nobody. You let me be weird. You let me be myself. That's the greatest gift anyone ever gave me. The two men hugged. The audience stood and applauded for 2 full minutes. Robin Williams passed away in 2014. At his funeral, one of his closest friends told a story. Robin always said that making Johnny Carson laugh was the moment he knew he'd made it. Not when Mork and Mindy became a hit. Not when he did movies. When Johnny Carson couldn't stop laughing. That's when Robin knew he was real. Today, you can still find clips of that night on YouTube. The 11-minute laugh. Johnny Carson, helpless with joy. Robin Williams, a comedy hurricane in human form. And 11 million people watching two legends create magic. If this story made you smile, subscribe and share it with someone who needs a laugh today. Drop a comment and tell me, who's the person that makes you laugh until you can't breathe? And remember, the best moments in life are the ones where you lose control and just let the joy take over.